what I wanted to do with the panelists is that we give them about 1 to 2 more minutes to address one item from their own presentation that they weren't allowed by me to present it to you. So I will give them a second chance. And I will start on the left with Mr. Bergmann. When you hear an alarm in about 10 minutes, and Mr. Bergmann goes away, it's planned. He has to catch his flight. Yeah? So, Mr. Bergmann, can I give you the microphone? It's on your head, but can I give you the first moments of speaking time? If I didn't stop you brutally, what would you have told the audience or asked the audience?
Yeah, I would have asked or tried to discuss a question which actually came up in at least 2 of the following presentations as well. And that is the matter about the efficiency of the larger vessels. So I tried to discuss a little bit, does it really make sense to make the vessels bigger and bigger? And then Olaf came back with a thesis saying that 19,000 TEU vessels, they cause higher costs for the ports and terminals. But then I also could hear from Benjamin that, yeah, maybe this is not fully to the picture, and I even heard it also from other terminals, that they try by maybe increasing the efficiency of the terminals. You could maybe compensate also from a terminal side for this bigger and bigger vessels, and even come to a higher productivity and a higher utilization of your assets. So for me, this is a kind of question where there is no easy answer, and where I really keen to learn and understand from you and maybe also from the audience better, what is the real mechanics behind, and what is the kind of drivers, what is the, what kind of opportunities do we have here in order to come to a better solution from a more holistic point of view.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. If you have questions, please use the app. Dr. Growitsch, 2 minutes for you.
Yeah, very short. What I found very interesting from an economic point of view, well, what we usually do is we try to optimize not individual but collective actions. And I think the question you raised, how to kind of minimize social costs of both vessels optimization and port optimization, is a very interesting one, because at the moment I don't see, let's say, the incentive structures for the vessel builders to optimize the size. And as I would imagine that there is quite an intensive competition between the ports, so might be kind of a situation where society will have to pay for an individual optimization of shipbuilders, and that's obviously not economically optimal. And I think I will do some research on that, because that's a very interesting question. I would like to know more about it.
Okay, thank you. Will be Olaf? Will you be the next? Olaf Merk?
Yes. Well, Max, I think you allowed me to say everything I wanted to say. But this gives me the opportunity to say something, to expand a little bit on something that Benjamin actually said, which was about the shortening cycle of the replacement of cranes, which is, I think, part of a larger picture. Of course, it takes, let's say, 1 to 1.5 years to between ordering a ship and getting the ship delivered. If you look at the infrastructure that is needed to handle these ships, this of course takes much longer than 1 or 1.5 years. Just take the example of dredging. The people know here know this well enough. This can take 5 years, 10 years, maybe decades. If you talk about hinterland transportation links, that can also take a lot of time. Even if you look at the replacement of keys, or even if you look at some of the equipment, that takes all more time than simply ordering a vessel. So there is a larger point there, I think, between a disconnect of shipping lines ordering ships, and then a whole infrastructure that actually needs to be in place suddenly, which of course cannot be done.
Okay, okay. Benjamin?
Right. You didn't stop me, I actually stopped myself. I think I want to spend a little time just talking about, I mentioned about the alliance. Why is the alliance actually, along with the megaship, is giving container terminals a little bit more headache than we used to have? It's the fact that because, let's say, for example, 2Ms, right? You have Merk and you have MSC. In Hong Kong, you guys call 2 terminals. So there are a lot of inter-terminal trucking that takes place, that goes between 2 separate container terminals entity. That's the G6, the 6 shipping lines. So they're all over the place in Hong Kong. That actually caused a lot of inefficiency in the whole system. Now, I'm not even talking about going outside the terminal. I'm just talking within the container terminal, or within the port of Hong Kong, where there's 5 different container terminals where containers need to be trucked to different terminals for it to be loaded or discharged somewhere else. So that's, along with the big ships, giving us a lot of operational challenges that we need to overcome.
Okay. Mr. Jörg Pollmann, did I give you enough speaking time, or do you want to come to elaborate on an item or bring up a new item?
I think if I should have really explained in detail how we handle the vessels here in Hamburg, I need another 10 to 20 minutes. But I just saw one point, also now with this small statements, that let's say the economists has one view, the technicals had one view, let's say the terminal operator has one view, you will have one view, and we as a port authority will have our own view. And everybody is working in his field, but I do not really see that one is really looking at each other.
How do you call this subset of actors? Is that a port ecosystem? Can we address that as a port ecosystem or a port subsystem with all kind of actors? Because you address a very good point.
But you see, the point is that partly we see that, for example, the carriers, they have their thoughts. What is the optimum dimension? What are the optimum dimensions of my vessel? And they are going to the classification society and they start to calculate. Yes, this is possible, that is not possible. Yeah. I do not really see that they speak in forehand with the ports. Let's say, what about the fairways? What about the turning circles? What about the gantry cranes? Actually, we learned, or we see that the dimensions of the vessels, if we are speaking in the field of the container vessels, you have the length of 400 meters, can be with a beam 60 meter, 58, whatever it is. But actually, we see, as you explained, the air draft is going up. Yeah. And I think this is especially a problem for the terminal operator. But what shall I do when a vessel is really coming and I do not get with the gantry crane over the vessel? So from that point of view, maybe it's for the future, all the participants should speak more with each other, and not that each and every of the participants tries to optimize his own system.
We call it sub-optimization. And when I was preparing this event, I read my stuff, of course, about bigger vessels and bigger challenges. And one of the analogies that I encountered was in the airplane industry, they're also having discussions and papers and research is being done about bigger planes. I have the feeling that in that ecosystem around aerospace, it's more a collaborative problem. And but it's not true? You don't agree? You have to go. He has to go. The first one who doesn't agree, he has to go.
No, I'm not sure whether this is really true, because when you look at the development at the airline industry, you saw that the airlines or the big manufacturers, they came up with these ultra-large airplanes like the A380 and so on, and they believed there would be a huge market for those airplanes. There was a market, but I think they maybe overestimated the influence of these ultra-large planes, because it turned out that their customers, again, in the end, us who are using the airplanes, we do not really like to go to a few of these mega hubs with our kind of feeder airplanes and then have to transfer from one to the other flight, go to the next hub and transfer again. But we prefer to go from one smaller airport to another one. Yeah. So having more medium size of airplanes who are then doing the direct call is for us as the end customer more comfortable than saving maybe a few bucks on this kind of transshipment and having then this very huge airplane. And I think maybe a little bit the same thinking we will maybe experience on the container shipping in the future as well.
Okay, thank you. You have to catch a plane.
I have to run now.
Can I have a press? Oh, they're here. Can we do it this way? Oh. Bye.
Thank you.
Capitano, we continue. Do you want to elaborate on your speech? Did you forget to say something?
No, just now Mr. Pollmann is going.
Bergmann, yep.
Is going to catch the plane. Now I need to back for a bit on the other position, behind the desk again.
Okay. Yeah. So you're not a practitioner now. You're a scientist.
Let's say that as Jörg says, we cooperate already. We cooperate very much because I think that we need to care about the both environment, the port, the infrastructure, the ship. The problem is I've been in Hong Kong. In Hong Kong, I've been in Chi-1 in 1995, where with a ship of 3,400 TEUs, that was the mother ship at that time, we spent 2 days to move 1,500 boxes. Today, we move 10,000 boxes in one tide interval. So it's unbelievable. Everything is growing. The port.
So it's not
what I am saying today is that we need to invest not only on the sides of the ship. We need to invest on the human resources.
Correct.
We need to invest on the VTIS. We need people ready to understand, to anticipate the critical situation. Yeah. With a ship like that, with the 5 degrees drifting, 60 meters wide become 100 meters. The channel is not in rubber. The channel is concrete.
The channel is not in rubber.
Yeah,
I'm going to remind that quote for the rest of my life.
Just with a blow of wind, you have to care about that.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. So, can I, data guys, can I have the question oh, we have the answers already, but not everyone is voting. This is your question. Can you read it?
No.
I will read it. Because of the ultra-large container vessels, the infrastructure of ports has to be adapted by expansion of fairways and turning cycles, as well as by improving further infrastructure fields like gantry cranes. Does it make sense that one member of the logistic chain, the ecosystem, benefits of the ship growth at the expense of other parties? Well, that's exactly the question we are addressing.
Yes, that was my question.
Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, can I have your votes, please? We're going... Oh.
Ooh. Yes, it does.
Panelists, can you see this?
Yes.
Yeah? A quick reaction from someone who wants to address, wrong view.
Yeah, I guess I wouldn't look at it as just one benefit, one party benefited. From in this perspective, the shipping lines benefited and nobody else does. I guess, again, it is the willingness to all work together, right, to make it work.
So that's the solution. The problem
like Peter mentioned, I don't know, is he still here? He goes, is a bucket solution is a bucket with many solutions.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know if it's no one size fit all, but
do we have a name already for that bucket of solutions and bucket of challenges?
Well, I think one thing that we find out for sure is we are we are getting some very high-level attention, commitment from the shipping lines to actually try to get this working out, because shipping lines are feeling the pain too. It is staying in the port for a long time. That is, they should be out there somewhere else, you know, in other ports.
Okay.
So, I mean, we are getting some traction.
But the majority says it doesn't make sense. Let's go to the audience and ask a question. About the 4% that doesn't have a clue or no idea. Let not me rephrase it. Who voted for that one and wants to earn something? Speaking time. No one? No, that is impossible. Come on. Who says no idea? Ah, over there. No, 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 no. Okay, what did you vote? You voted no, okay. Then you're going to be my friend. Can you explain why no?
Yes, hi, Malte Siegert. I'm working for a German environmental organization, and I certainly have some or various reasons why I say no. I don't think it's really fair to, if you see that most of the ports in Europe are publicly owned, some terminals are, some terminals are not. And if the big shipping companies are profiting from these sizes and the costs are partly public, so the taxpayers' money is paid for having hinterland infrastructure, what we have heard, is to expand the terminals, the cranes, everything what is connected with the sizes of the ships, then I don't think it's fair, because meanwhile it's completely misbalanced. And I doubt that it is really reasonable from a holistic point of view to let the sizes of ships grow. It sounds to me a little like that the shipping companies are taking all the other parts of the chain into hostage, and I don't think it's a really fair situation.
So, shipping companies. That's a nice... thank you, sir, for your opinion. If someone from the panel wants to react on this meaning of the majority, I mean, 60% of the people, perhaps not with this elaboration, but 60% of the people thought it was a no. About the yes side, I thought there were 14–15% people agreeing with it, that it makes no sense. Someone I can throw the microphone to? No, that must be. There must be someone in those other... Okay, data panel, I need your help. Help me, please, and help the panel.
No, I think no? I want to clarify what I said earlier. I said the question of just lining up as the shipping lines is benefiting and everybody else are losers. I think that's where I'm having that. I'm saying the viewpoint is a little wrong. So I actually, if I would have voted, I would actually go on the and say the wrong view. Okay. Right. I don't think. I mean, the shipping lines have to put money in it, and when they're investing, they're losing money. They've been losing money for a long time, right? So they are coming up with issues. Like I said, that's the new normal. IT companies, you have, you know, when we went from 286 to 386 to 486, I'm showing my age right now. Pentium and all that different, I mean, things are improving. I mean, that's part of the industry that has not kind of make a big step change until recently. Okay. So I don't think we should position as that, you know, shipping lines are gaining and everybody else are losers. That's, I guess that's my point.
Do we all agree then? I have to say this was my question, and I expected such a result, because we are at the World Ports Conference. If you ask the same question, let's say on a ship owner association conference, it can be that the result would be a little bit different.
But do we need to expand then our ecosystem, expand the discussion with other parties to really find a solution? Olaf?
Yes, yes, I think so. And I agree with Benjamin. It's not about blaming shipping lines, because in all fairness, they probably don't see much of their cost savings, because they actually give this back to customers or to importers and exporters. The freight rates are really low, so you could say they don't actually benefit that much from it. I think the problem is more that they impose certain costs, and that refers back to your question on what happens in the aviation industry. I think one of the problems in maritime transport is that this has not been a planned transition. So this has been something that suddenly happens, where a lot of other transport actors are affected, that then suddenly have to do something. Sometimes these are terminal operators. Then you could say, well, the terminal operators have to fight their fights with the shipping lines. But in many cases, it's also public infrastructure that indeed needs to be done. What happened indeed in aviation? Of course, the constellation is different, but there was a more planned consultative approach to introducing these larger airplanes. Of course, it might be difficult to do that in maritime transport, but somehow, and that is an answer to your first question, somehow I think there should be, let's say, a global discussion where carriers are involved, where operators are involved, where ports are involved, where maybe other transport actors are involved, simply to say, okay, what is the current situation? How to optimize what is the situation? How to make good use of these big ships? How to optimize a supply chain? And then looking forward, what is going to be the situation?
Okay. Dr. Growitsch, is that a nice assignment for the academic world?
Well, I mean, the idea is, I think, you also mentioned the idea of fairness. I mean, it's something we would probably all agree on. The question is, what kind of instruments can you introduce first to, let's say, optimize the entire system, which is not an easy task, because you have, let's say, direct costs, indirect costs, hidden costs, environmental costs, whatever. And the other aspect is, how could you organize it, and what kind of instruments would you use? Because, I mean, we always, well, economists always say instruments have to be incentive compatible. So what is the incentive for a vessel builder to build, let's say, the optimal size in a global societal way? And I don't see these instruments yet. I mean, obviously talking is a good idea, communicating always, but if you have to have let's say a slow force, or you push them, nudge them into the best direction, I don't think that we have seen these instruments yet. And I think it's probably a major challenge to build these instruments.
Is that a typically academic way to approach not collaborating? Dear practitioners.
You took this one.
You have the last 2 minutes of this panel discussion.
I can tell you that we are cooperating already with the closer one.
Okay.
Of course, with the analyzer, let's say that they have the job. Their job is to analyze the market and then to let the owner know if we need a bigger vessel or not, to inform the terminal if they need to start investment on bigger cranes or not. But for us, we are already close enough to the terminal, close enough to the port authorities, and we believe that together we can rise down the safety margins, rise up safety margins, because we need, again, when I was interviewing a master, what do you think about Napoli? I come from Napoli, no? Of course. Napoli is a small port. We are trying to, MSc, Mr. Aponte is from Napoli, so everybody is looking to Mr. Aponte to do something for the country. He is doing well enough. But they ask us, why you don't come with the big one? And the master of an MSc ship says, the problem in Napoli is that the breakwater, we cannot move as we like. What we can do, when they ask us, why you don't come in Hamburg, we go to evaluate. We did the risk assessment. Risk assessment, I think that everybody has to do already. When we do an investment, I think that you do the risk assessment. Why to gain only one? I think that any company, any owner, private or I believe also public, which invest, he want to gain something.
These were the famous last words of this panel discussion by Capitano Salvatore. Gentlemen, thank you very much for this discussion. I hope it was pleasant for you too. Normally you're not obliged to ask those questions, but here you are. Sirs, thank you. If you please want to go and sit in the audience with a big hand.